Christine is, at first glance, a typical revenge story. A young man buys an old car, which he becomes immediately attached to. He fixes up the car, and then some hoodlums trash it. One by one, they all wind up dead, along with anyone else who has crossed him. The problem? The young man is, for all intents and purposes, innocent. It's the car committing the murders. This is the basic premise of Christine. The film follows the events of the book fairly well, if not the tone. Arnie Cunningham is a big old nerd who hangs out with his best friend Dennis, who is a total jock. Arnie buys an old heap of a car from a crazy old man, though in the movie he buys it from the crazy old man's crazy old brother, who acts exactly like the crazy old man from the book. You gotta wonder what the damn difference is. Anyway, Arnie changes after getting the car, and focusing on himself and fixing it up. He stands up to his domineering parents, he gains confidence, his complexion clears up, and he gets a girlfriend. However, after the car's former owner dies, in the film version he's already dead, Arnie also starts acting like the crotchety old bastard and gains a nasty, vengeful streak. After a bunch of assholes destroy his car, the car itself, haunted by its malevolent former owner, hunts down and kills them, along with anyone else who gets in the way. The car's odometer runs backwards, and it even heals itself. This has changed slightly for the film version, which was due to King's popularity at the time. The film was put into production before the book even came out. The film actually suggests, though it never comes right out and says it, that the car, nicknamed Christine, was just born evil. This is part of why I said that the film follows the events of the novel, but not necessarily the tone. It's a fundamental difference for the Arnie character. In the book, he starts off as a stereotypical nerd. He's in the chess club and everything. But he's also a genuinely nice guy with a great sense of humor. Some of the dialogue between him and Dennis is hilarious. After the old man, Roland LeBay, dies, he haunts both the car and Arnie, turning the car into a vengeful machine of death and Arnie into a reflection of himself. In the film, they just decided it was the car itself, not any sort of spirit inhabiting it, so there really isn't all that much of a change in Arnie. He does stop wearing glasses and acts more aggressive and assertive once he gets the car, but right from the get-go he's kind of a creep. Really not at all the likable character from the book. Even Dennis, who is this guy that you're supposed to like, comes off as a jackass at times. That's the major problem I had. None of the characters were likable. They're all shitheels. There are other minor changes, a lot of them having to do with John Carpenter directing the movie, so it has his distinct style and flair. Most of the changes to the plot are minor, like moving the location from Pennsylvania to California. It really doesn't matter. One thing that did bug me was the style and demeanor of the characters. It supposedly takes place in the late 70s, but everything seems really anachronistic. Arnie winds up looking like he stepped out of the 50s, which would have made some sense if they used the whole vengeful spirit dynamic, and most of the rest of the cast's looks show that the movie is very much a product of the 80s. Really no effort was made to visually show that the movie takes place in the 70s, so I don't know why they just didn't update it to the 80s anyway. One thing that is quite good, especially considering when the movie was made, is the special effects. Now it is true that some things were really obvious, like that in all the scenes that were supposedly nobody was driving the car, the windows are heavily tinted, so as not to show the stunt driver. But the parts with Christine healing itself are all done pretty well, and this was way before CGI effects. It was all done with plastics and hydraulic pumps. If there's one thing that John Carpenter knows, it's how to throw a scare into the audience, and the movie does that quite well. Overall, it's a decent flick. It's just the usual case where the book is a lot better. The actors in it were mostly unknowns at the time, but they do a really decent job, and it is fairly faithful considering that they started the movie before the book was out. If you can accept that this is more John Carpenter's Christine than Stephen King's Christine, then it's pretty enjoyable. I give Christine a 7 out of a possible 10.